is going to be our 11th podcast here with Kiki Connects. Hi, Kiki. Do you want to tell us what you do?
Hey. Oh my gosh. So that question actually used to piss me off because I spent so many years having no idea what I was here to do and no idea what my mission was and what my purpose was. And now I've stepped into a space where I'm a coach and I'm a mentor and I help specifically men and individuals that are male bodied transform their lives. I take them from a place of total fear, lack mentality, scarcity, and all the different diseases that are combined into that. And I help them feel more liberated with purpose and a true mission of what they're here to do in this planet Earth, in this specific lifetime. So it's one of the best jobs in the world. It really is. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. How did you get into this? Like, where did this start?
Yeah, so we're gonna just go straight into it, and I'm
Okay.
gonna dive super deep already and be completely vulnerable in this space because it feels good and it feels open. And how I got into this was I spent many years exploiting myself with men, and I was super promiscuous. I drank a lot of alcohol and did way ingested way too many substances. And then I started becoming a sex worker, and I was a sex worker for a number of years. And then I realized then and there that this wasn't really my path and this wasn't really my purpose. But I was so inundated with having new experiences. So when people asked me what I was addicted to, it was never the actual substances, or it was never actually the person, but it was always having a new experience, meeting a new someone, having a different situation every single time. I love and crave variety. And so my life has been this small microcosm of being addicted to new experiences and seeing where that would take me and where I would land. And sometimes I didn't land straight on my feet. I landed completely flat on my head. but and now I can live to tell the tales. But anyways, I did that for a number of years. And I was also still trying to find a regular job, trying to fit myself into the matrix system, being a star that was trying to fit into all these little square holes. And I could not fit. And thus, I did all these different side hustles and gigs and everything like that. And I just started to realize that when I was in these spaces with these men, I held really good space. I really gave them the attention and I gave them the floor to speak and to share their emotions with me and really to allow themselves to unpack the layers that they had been holding onto for so many years. However, I was still exploiting my body and I was using my body against what it was that my true mission was on this planet Earth. And in 2017, I became sober from alcohol and all substances, and then I stopped being a sex worker. And I went through an incredible journey of self work over the last 3 years. Ooh, yeah, I dove in super deep. I dove in really deep and wanted to figure out who I was and how I wanted to continue to show up, and would see all of these layers unfolding and would have to go through these different traumas and experiences that I had that had led me to closing off myself to a lot of people and also myself. And so let's continue this story. So
Mhm.
that continued and that continued. And I started to realize that I'm here to be a guide and I'm here to guide people towards and back to themselves. And I started to recognize this, and I didn't really know who I wanted to help at first, but I was just helping my friends and family members, and people would always come to me for advice. And so I started really taking in that inventory, right? Because I know every single person has a specific inventory that they can give to this world that they're carrying with them. And so I started taking in that inventory of, okay, I really am here to help people, and I'm here to support others towards them figuring out their own shit, essentially.
Yeah.
And then I just started realizing the individuals that came to me are more specifically men. And then I had to go through my own process of, oh my gosh, who do you think you are? This whole imposter syndrome of, I don't have a penis, and so what do I think I'm doing? And then I started to really recognize that these are the people who come to me. And so let's ground that in and anchor that in and set that intention that these are the people that come to me, and thus they are my clients. And ever since that occurred, less than 6 months ago, I want to say as of like last September, ever since I really set that intention for myself, I've had all these different experiences, and I have regular clients now. And I've only started my business over the last 6 months, and it is just incredible. It really has. It's been super incredible. And I'm a solopreneur. I've started my business over the last 6 months, so there's still some hiccups and figuring out the structure of things and learning business things that I haven't learned before. But it's been a really cool journey. And so that's a segment of how I came to be. Yeah.
That's awesome and exciting. Who would have even thought, like, I mean, it's true, guys hold in so much and like they I know thinking back to like my dad and my grandpa, they were always so strong, but you know that there's times where, they're hurting too, but they don't let it go. Even to my husband, like I love my husband. He's so sweet. Like he cries during movies. He's probably gonna get mad at me for saying this, but he does when like it's a super emotional movie. He is a super emotional feeling person, and he has got such a big heart, and I love it. Like I'd smack somebody around just for teasing them about it. I would.
Yeah.
And he is a very, very strong man, but he does. He has a big heart, and they should be allowed to feel that and allowed to put that out there. And I think the world does expect them to be a lot stronger and
Absolutely.
hold everything in, but
Yeah.
it's not okay.
And that's also not strong. That is not
No.
strength, right? We're all coming to start to we're coming into this deeper realization that strength is actually vulnerability. It is not holding in. It is not creating boundaries. It is not stepping into yourself. And I think that, so another aspect of why I started to realize that I'm here to work with men and male-bodied individuals was because I was starting to, I can't even really describe it in any other way other than I felt this visceral no whenever I would hear about a women's circle or a women's leadership event or something like that. And I was invited to all of these spaces, and I would go in there and I would start asking, okay, so where are the men? How can we integrate all of this together and integrate all of the genders? Because I get it, and I love being in sister circles more than words, don't get me wrong, and I love my sisters. However, for me, it was this visceral ickiness that I was feeling because it was God, the universe, Oprah Winfrey, whatever you want to call it, propelling me into my mission. Right? It was like, okay, you're right now, you're here to help nurture and guide the men, the males, because they there is, like you were saying, there's not as much in terms of, I mean, there's the Mankind Project and there's all kinds of stuff, and of course it's there. I'm not saying that it isn't, but it's just not at the capacity of the women's circles and women's groups. And you know what I think that it honestly is? I think it's because we have this rise of the feminine power. However, it has been misconstrued as rise of women power. I think the rise of the feminine is actually the rise of the feminine in every single one of us. And so we have to also address that in the bodies of the men and the males, because they also have a feminine aspect of themselves. And until they are okay with their femininity, right, the chaotic, the nurturing, the free flowing, and the dancer through the masculine structure, unless they're okay with that aspect of themselves, then women will probably still be in the space that they're in,
Mm-hmm.
because we all have to rise together. And so I
Yes.
started to realize that this is what I'm here for. And so you're talking about your grandfather, your father, your husband. I've got the same sort of stories, right? I mean, my
Yes.
dad, love him more than words, and I'm so grateful for him being the person that he is, and he's so compassionate in the way that he shows up. And yet there's still work to do, right? Because that generation of males, whew, I don't know what happened, right? It was like, holy moly, gotta hang in there and stay strong and don't
Yes.
cry, and don't cry like a girl, and this kind of stuff. And that whole mentality of not allowing ourselves to express in the most vulnerable and honest way and be authentic. And so I
Yes.
do see that there is this like crazy and amazing shift going on and occurring. And the more that we can really understand that the rise of the feminine is within every single person, we will have more of a balance and equanimity within everything that we do. So that's my mission. I'm like, all right, where's the disconnection?
And that's so important too, because it can bind the two genders together. Like, you know, I think a lot of guys too, when they see all these women marches and all these women like empowered things, they think that it's all about man hating. And those some women do hate men, but they don't need to. Some of them were just wronged by one man, or and that person's probably hurting too. And
Exactly.
yeah, it just we all need to heal in so many different ways
Mm-hmm.
and come together.
Yeah, there's so much wounding. There's just an
Yes.
unbelievable amount of wounds that have not been healed. And a lot of these wounds, which we like to deem as toxic, I just see them as these like seething with pain wounds bubbling up to the surface. And sometimes you get a little bit too much water in an open wound, and then it's got that weird filmy stuff on the top. I feel like we got a lot of that going on, right?
Yeah.
and and it's time to nurture that wound and really pay attention to it and create an awareness of it so that it can fully heal.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what are some tips and tricks you use to rest and reset yourself?
Mm, good question. I do I do a lot, actually. I constantly have to remind myself to, and not even remind, but just straight up do it. I do a lot of practices of clearing my energy,
Mhm.
especially after I'm with a client. But right before and right after I'm with the client, I clear my energies, because it's so easy to take on the energetics of different spaces, people, places, situations. Us going to the grocery store, right? We're
Yes.
taking on the energy, all different types of things and situations and people, different vibrations, different energies and frequencies. And so what do I do to reset myself is I meditate quite often. I meditate every morning at least, and then I like to get another 15-minute meditation throughout the day. But
Mhm.
usually I do about 30 minutes to an hour of a meditation in the morning, just to reset, ground myself. I set up goals every single day. And then throughout the day, I'll do what I call as a clearing ceremony. And would you want to do it right now? It takes like a couple minutes.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Right.
Maybe 10. So I want you to close your eyes
Okay.
and breathing in and out really deeply, and allowing yourself to create an awareness of your belly rising and falling. And so what we do now as your eyes are closed, we're going to do this clearing ceremony. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to call on both of our guides, both of our spiritual animals that surround us always, all of the ages that we have been and that we will be. And then we're also going to call on all of the different Mother Nature spirits that are here for us as well. We're going to call on the northeast, southwest directions that are going to ground in a bubble of support and protection and safety for us, so that we may clear out the energies, clear out the frequencies, clear out the vibrations that no longer belong to us, that we might have gifted or been given either consciously or unconsciously from people, places, situations, things, whatever it is. Okay, so what we're going to do is, now that we have all of our guides and all of our spirits and all of the ages that we have been and that we will be, they're surrounding the circle, and they're actually having this beam of light emanate from their heart center towards us in the middle of this circle. So this is creating even more of a light warmth space for us to do this work and clear out the energies that don't belong to us. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to call on the Ascended Masters of Christ Consciousness, the 333, and these are Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. They're going to put a red rose on the northeast, south, and west directions. We're going to have a big, beautiful blue sapphire cover the bubble that we're creating. This is from our mother Isis, the goddess of fertility and nurturing. And then Saint Germain, he is the alchemist. He is the one who is pouring a violet purple flame over the top of us, so that we may have warmth, so that we may turn poison into potion. Okay, so now this is where you come in. I'm going to have us breathe in and out, and then we're going to breathe in, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3 as we're breathing in, and then you're going to actually breathe out all of those energies with power, with vigor, and with force. And while you're breathing out, you're either going to snap or clap, whichever makes you feel more powerful. Are you ready? Yes? Okay, so we're going to breathe in and out. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and out. And then we're going to also do the opposite now. So we're actually going to take back in the vibrations and take back in the energies and in the frequencies that we might have gifted to others, either consciously or unconsciously, so that we may now completely and utterly step into the person that we came here to be, step into our sovereign selves. All right, so we're going to do this one more time. It's just going to be the opposite. So we're going to do 1 transitional breath in, 1 transitional breath out. In and then out, I will start counting 1, 2, 3. You're either going to clap or snap, whichever one makes you feel more powerful, and then you're going to breathe in back the energies and the frequencies and the vibrations that you might have gifted to other people, places, or things, unconsciously or consciously. And so we're going to start with the transitional breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. 1, 2, 3. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes.
All right.
So that's what I do. And you can do it in a way quicker way if you want. You can just snap your fingers and clear it out, or whatever makes you feel good. I snap all the time. If I feel some weird stickiness going on, I'll move my body really quick and put myself into a different state, into a different position, because a lot of the time it's just our bodies need to move when we're in a place where we feel that stickiness, we feel that ickiness. So,
All right.
setting an intention and moving your body.
I like that. That's interesting. I don't think I've heard that one before.
Good.
All right.
Hopefully more people hear it.
Yeah. Where is all that based off from, or is there like books and stuff that you learned how to do this?
You know what? It actually has not been a single book. And of course it has, because I've read books. Of course, I read all the time, and I think that everything brings me to this now moment, right? So everything that
Mhm.
I've ingested in terms of information and knowledge and wisdom has allowed me to come into these spaces of my own wisdom.
Yes.
But I actually learned this clearing ceremony specifically from a dear friend of mine. Her name is Melissa Tiger Lily, and she's a very potent energy worker and healer, and she she can clear the energy of spaces in a single snap. I've even seen her snap sometimes, and I've seen fire come out of her fingers. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Mhm.
And so she was actually one of the people that helped me to step into my role, and I've learned a lot from her. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is a woman that you look up to other than Miss Tiger Lily? Was that her name?
Tiger Lily. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, Oprah Winfrey, of course. I cannot wait with Oprah Winfrey and hold up my book, because I'm currently writing a book as well. It's called Mind Fuck to Mind Starvation, and I cannot wait. Actually, I can. I'm excited for this now moment, of course. I'm very excited about
Yeah.
me visualizing myself. I do this all the time, sitting on the couch with Oprah, and we're talking about how to build more consciousness into the greater community and the collective. And she's holding my book, Mind Fuck to Mind Starvation, and we're laughing and giggling and this and that. So she's just one person that I really truly admire. I think she's one of the most powerful women on this planet Earth, and has done an incredible amount of work for billions of people, truly
Mhm.
billions, right? So
Yes.
many people know who she is, and more so the work she does. But I love my mom and my grandmother and all the women in my life, you know. Every single every single woman who I have in my inner circle is equally, if not more powerful, and just uniquely powerful in their own way, that I take on all of their wisdom and all of their glory, so that it's just like, whoa. As soon as you ask me that question, I don't even know how to answer it, because I'm going, there are so many glorious women in my life. And also the androgynous, right?
Mhm.
I have a few individuals that I know who don't identify as a gender. And that also needs to be brought up to the surface, right? That
Yes.
there are some individuals that adhere more to a non conforming sort of aspect of life. And so they don't look at themselves as male or female. And I think that that also needs to be shown too, because there's so much heaviness between men and women. And then we're forgetting an entire series of individuals. So
Yes.
I want to shed light on that too. But yeah, there's so many people that I love in this world that have helped shape me and helped me get to where I am, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually.
Absolutely. There's like that's a very broad question because there are so many women in most women's lives. But it usually brings out like the top ones. But it's interesting you brought up the see, I don't even know exactly how to say it because I don't want to offend anybody, and it's something that's so like I think new to so many people. These gender fluid, transitional, I'm not even sure if I even know all the different what's
Yeah.
on. And it's just so new and not something that everybody is around a lot, and especially for the older generations. And
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that needs to be talked about more understanding
I
and
think so too.
yes, and understanding where they come from, understanding, why they feel this way, how to be around them.
Mm-hmm.
and because nobody wants to be hurt, and nobody wants nobody wants any more pain, for them or for anybody else. And I think it's something that like everybody's trying to figure out.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, and it is. It's a new language to learn.
Yeah.
It really, really is. It is a new language to learn. And I'm having to, because it's so funny because I work very heavily with men, right?
Hmm.
And I very much so work with men who are very heteronormative, and that meaning they completely identify themselves as men. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that situation. And yet I also want to adhere to the individuals that are just male bodied, and and call out to them too, because they're also an individual and they're also a person, and I do want to support as many people as possible. However, I also see myself in a space where I'm having a problem and I'm having trouble even figuring out the language of what I want to speak.
Yeah.
And like, so when I said that my clients were men and males, I don't even know if that's even me speaking to the male identifying individuals or people that are male bodied rather, if I'm even addressing them, if that's the right way to address them. So I hear you, sister. It's like it's
It's
a whole new language.
a whole new language, a whole new aspect. Like there's the whole bathroom issue, because that's seriously a thought too, because there are hurt people out there, or people that don't mind hurting others, and you do have to think about that part too, because like I mean, technically anybody could walk into a bathroom at any point, but that's where we send our daughters, that's where we go, and I think that scares a lot of people, because they don't want their loved ones to get hurt.
Mm.
But also, those people, the people that are identifying as a female or otherwise, they need a place to use the restroom too, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know how all that's going to be figured out.
And it's already all been figured out. It's just that now, in this now moment, and in the time that we're living, we are going through a series of different kinks, and we're
Yeah.
untying all of the very intense and huge, like, you know, infinite amount of knots upon knots upon knots, right? And we're working on it, and we're untying the knots. And this is the generation that we chose specifically. You and I are part of the seventh generation. And I don't know if you've heard of the seventh generation before, but
No.
there's many different there's different tribes and indigenous populations around the world that have spoken about the seventh generation specifically. And we came onto this earthly plane in order for us to create a new grid system for the earth, create new programs and structures and ways in which that we can move forward for the seven generations that are going to come after us. And so we are having to really work with a lot of traumas and a lot of pain, and working a lot in our bodies from not only just in this lifetime, but lifetimes from past lives, and all of our lineages from our ancestors and everything. So there's a lot that's coming to the surface right now. And I think that when we talk about individuals that are not adhering to either a man or a woman, they are non-conforming. That just means that we're shifting ourselves, and we're shifting into a more of a space of a non-duality space, because man and female, or man and woman, male and female, is duality. And the true aspect of who we are is a non-duality space. It's like looking at a right and wrong. There is no right and wrong. There is no black and white. It's all this gray space, this gray matter. This is the space. It is just is, right?
Mhm.
Everything just is right here. I don't know how I got onto that topic, but I'm like, okay, so how do we get there? But anyways, so
Yeah.
yeah, we're in a very intense time right now where a lot is being required of us to shift ourselves and be able to shift our perspective so that the perspective around us can shift. And the non-gender conforming individuals, the LGBTQ community, they're they're the anomalies that are bringing themselves up to the surface so that they can also be looked at, so that our perspectives can all change. And so they're showing up in such a crazy and amazing way, we can shift our perspective. From that perspective shift, it's this ripple effect where we just have love and compassion for all beings.
Yes. That's
And sometimes it's just as simple as someone coming into the bathroom that you might not think you don't think that they should be there, but having a place of curiosity rather than judgment about it, and just seeing what happens.
yes.
Yeah.
All right.
that
Any
was a, that was a lot.
that was a lot. That was a lot. But it's okay. You're sharing, and you know, it's opening eyes to stuff that maybe we don't usually think about. Even myself, like I thought I was pretty open, but talking to you, I'm gonna have to do a lot more reading and a lot more research and a lot more talking to you.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
Thank you for saying that.
yeah. You brought up some interesting points and some things that I guess I've never really thought about. Um,
Mm.
any words of advice for a future generation?
Oh, they they got this. It's us that need to figure out ourselves. You know what I mean? Because kids, oh my gosh, kids are little wisdom keepers. And I
Yeah.
think for us, we should actually be asking the children what advice they have for us.
They do come up with some absolutely amazing, interesting things.
They are on point with what they say. And there's no programming that they've adhered to that tells them no until someone tells them no, right?
Yes. Yes.
And and it's the conditioning that we have, right? So I'm 29 years old and I've got 29 years of conditioning coming from a 3-year-old who has just come out, and he's still, he or she or they them there has come out of the womb, and they're like, whoa, oh my gosh, what is this? This is amazing. I think the question should be asked for us to ask them what's going on, and what's the solution, because they know more than us sometimes, to
Yes.
integrate that. And you know what I also realized was, I was talking to a friend the other day about this, about baby talk, talking to babies like babies. And then you condition them that being a baby means that they are less knowledgeable and that they are actually stupid.
Hmm. I've never thought of it
And
that way. I never really baby
yeah,
talked to my kids. Like I always tried to
mm-hmm.
use regular talk and speak to them as if they were already a person because I don't know, to
Yeah,
me that's my in my mind, like, you know, how else are they gonna learn? Like,
yeah, right.
yeah. And
And
it's just I don't know, it always didn't make sense to me when people baby talk, like I don't know.
yeah, because I mean, you're a beautiful mama, and I don't have children yet, but I was thinking about this with a friend of mine, of going, I wonder how that would condition a child if their parent or someone in their sphere was constantly talking to them in baby talk, putting them down just a little bit, and they're not on the adult level, right?
Yeah.
So it's conditioning this hierarchical structure at home.
Yeah. I mean, those words stick. Like, I have to tell my older two sometimes because I have a 14, 11-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
have to tell the older two, like, no, you need to use the actual proper word. Don't. you know,
Yeah.
make it into a baby word, because then it does become that word, like, and then
Mm.
it's confusing to them, I think, later on when like they get to school or get around other peers and they're saying the word as a baby word, but then it's really they're not pronouncing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like, I think it's got to confuse them, and then like they have to deal with that later, and then who knows, there might be like a little bit of resentment, like why did they make me look dumb in front of
Mm.
everyone else, like, yeah, that's interesting. I never fully thought
Yeah.
of it like that.
Yeah, I'm constantly thinking about how we're conditioning ourselves and how we're conditioning other people to think of things as right and wrong, because there really is no right
Yes.
and wrong. It's just a perspective.
Yes, and
And
there's so much conditioning, like,
we are being overrun by a series of programs that just do not adhere to us in terms of us showing up for ourselves in a true and authentic way. And
yes.
I think there's a huge yes culture, right? But I also think that there should be a yes with a little bit of skepticism,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
But and not judgment though, but just skepticism with a little bit of curiosity. You're like,
Yes.
that's interesting. Haven't heard of that one before, and totally respect and admire your opinion of this. And I got a different one. So you want to talk about it, or being open, being curious to new perspectives.
Absolutely. It's funny because I grew up, one side of my family is Mormon LDS, and the other side of my family is Baptist.
Oh wow.
So yes, there was a lot of, my dad didn't really attend church, the LDS side, but my mom teaches Sunday school. My
Mm-hmm.
sister teaches Sunday school now, and I I never felt like I fit in. And in fact,
Mm.
when people would ask me what religion I was, in high school, I came up with Sharism because my name's Sherilyn. And I'm like, I don't necessarily believe in a religion. I believe what I believe. And it
Mm.
was just kind of like bits and pieces from everywhere, just what I thought and what I felt was right and what was supposed to be. And so I don't know, like, I guess I always kind of did say yes with a little bit of skepticism, because if it didn't feel right to me, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, that's so cool. And sharism could be you and your perspective that you have, and perhaps you're playing "Do You Believe in Life After Life," the whole time, or whatever the heck. But that's your theme song, and so everyone else has their own theme song to
Yeah.
their own perspective, and everyone is living out their own religious views.
Yeah.
Even if, and there's such a huge negative undertone of the word religion these days, but I think that we can alchemize it into something that serves us all.
Yes, and it's okay if you're religious and you have your own beliefs. Like, just because I have Sharism doesn't mean that yours is wrong, and we need to stop that too. Like,
Yeah.
each religion is wrong or right or whatever. There, it doesn't have to be that way. I
Yeah,
don't.
it's it's just yet another program that we've adhered to. This program of duality, this right or wrong, bad or good. There is no bad, there is no good, there is no right, there is no wrong when it comes to people's perspectives of the way in which they live their lives. And then there's always the conversation of like, but what about people that are mass murderers? And like, is that bad? Is that good? And quite honestly, I would say no. I would say that it just is. And it is a person who is acting on a series of different conditions and wounds, I would say. And that's just what's happening right now. It's this cause and effect of people being conditioned into different programs and different ways of thinking and doing. And yeah, the right and wrong, it's so amazing, because we also live in this world where there's a night and a day, right? A dark and a light, sun and moon, all of these things. And so we do live in this duality. And whoops. And we do live in this duality, and at the same time it's something to constantly be curious and skeptical of, for sure. Yeah.
Yes. It's interesting you brought up the serial killers because there's a documentary series that's, I believe it's on Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and I love horror movies. So me and my husband were watching it, and they basically, like, back in the 50s and 60s, a couple of police officers, went and started um, speaking with these serial killers and seeing why. And that had, like, not been done. They just, you know, gathered the evidence and threw them in jail, and that was done. But then they started looking at why, and why they were doing these things, and what they did, and how they did it. And they started to go through and basically find out what makes a serial killer. And it's a very interesting show, for sure. And it is all just a bunch of conditions, like the mother was a huge factor, how the mother treated the son. And I mean, that right there was just like a huge pivotal point for almost all of the men that they interviewed and were on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely interesting to look at.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. A time that you felt most empowered.
Mm. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Uh, as silly as this seems, I honestly feel empowered when I wake up in the morning. You know, it's just this constant reminder and this ability to be like, oh my gosh, I have another day and I can create it as I want to. And I think that the most I've ever felt empowered is right, really truly, because over the last decade, you know, 2000 until or 2010 till 2019, I really had my head in my having a lot of fun, of course, because I love expressing playfulness in all different aspects, and I love new experiences, and I've lived in so many different places, and I've traveled and all of these different things, and yet when someone would ask me what I do for a living, I would just crumble from the inside out because I had no idea what I was here to do, and I had no idea what my purpose was and what my mission was, and I was constantly integrating myself into a lot more not necessarily darker spaces, but places that just really weren't serving me, like with drugs and substances and alcohol and my sex work that I was just talking to you about. And
Mm-hmm.
it's made me who I am, but I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. I'm so
I
glad I'm
can
not there anymore.
imagine.
Holy moly, I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. And so when I know it might sound super hippy dippy, like, oh no, I just love the present moment. But like, I really truly do love where I am right now because I look back on it and how beautiful is hindsight that we get the ability to really see things in retrospect and see why things happened the way that they happened. And now I feel like 2020, we've all given ourselves just a collective inhalation and exhalation, just deep breathe, exhale, and be like, oh, thank you. And I
Mm-hmm.
really believe that 2020 is the year for us to every single individual, if they've been doing the self work and they've been working on themselves and they've figured out what it is that they want to propel themselves forward with, how they want to express their creativity, go for it, because God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is totally on your side. And right now, in the place that I'm in, I'm living in LA, I just moved here, and I could not feel more of this palpable, just super amazing creative energy that is propelling me forward. And I have no idea how I'm going to pay my rent in a couple weeks. And I have no idea about all these things. And I've got to go to Las Vegas next week. And I'm like, whoa, how am I going to make this happen? But I just know in my heart and soul that everything is happening as it's meant to. And I'm always taken care of. And so when I say that I really feel this moment as the most empowered moment I've ever had, it's not ever had, but like it's been a collective shift over the last 6 to 8 months for me, where I do feel like I can just breathe in deeply and breathe out and exhale deeply, and continue moving myself forward. So yeah, I feel so good coming into 2020. It's just like, yes, keep doing what you're doing, girlfriend, because it's all coming together. It's all coming together.
Yes. It's sounds like I mean, you've had a crazy journey. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, I've never even, like, I'm from Las Vegas, so you see, you know, sex workers out there all the time, but I couldn't even imagine, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now to come into your own self and to bring yourself out of that and into your own business, helping people, that's amazing. That's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
kudos to you for making it here, and I hope you continue on and build it to something amazing, which I know you will. You
Oh,
will.
sister, it's already happened.
Yeah.
Kiki, Kiki is. I'm here to serve millions of people on this planet Earth, and
Yes.
I know that in my heart and soul. And so now is the space where I just surrender, and I'm going, all right, God, you know what I got to do. So I'm gonna close my eyes. If anyone ever wants to do this, this is how you step into a space of surrender, because surrender is the ultimate flow of life. Everyone talks about that flow, right? Just things
Yes.
going so effortlessly, and so continuing to push things, it's not going to happen for you. The control aspect is
Mm-hmm.
also another program, and so surrendering into the constant flow of things. And so this is what I do. I'll close my eyes, and I will literally imagine myself in this moment, sitting as I'm sitting in this seat, and I will actually see my body move out of my body and step one step to the left, so that I can be a clear channel and a clear conduit for God's work. And that works for me all the time. Whenever I'm in a space of feeling the ego come up and wanting to say things or do things or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Act upon my ego and want to show up and want to show people what I have to give rather than just being what I have to give. I do. I step to the left and I say, use me, God, and I am in your service. Let's do this together.
All right. An inspirational quote that you say to yourself in a hard time.
Dr. Seuss. Amuse them and they will come.
Yeah, from
That's
Dr.
it.
Seuss.
Yep,
That's
Dr. Seuss. Amuse them and they will come. And what that means for me is to express playfulness. Where can I be the most playful in this now moment? I'm at the grocery store, right? I'm like
mhm.
looking at everyone's, it's peak hour to go to the grocery store, and everyone's like pissed off and looking at vegetables and whatever. And I'm going, okay, entertain them and they will come. Thank you, Dr. Seuss. Or amuse them and they will come, rather.
Mhm.
And so I I I want to interact with people, and so I'll look people in the eyes, tell them how you going, what's going on, man, getting vegetables. I love broccoli. What are you making with that broccoli? How can I express joy in everything that I'm doing? And that's not bypassing, because I also want to be really clear on this is not like an aspect of an element of just constantly being positive, because I also do not believe in that, because I think that we also need to be okay with our and be aware of the anger and the bitterness and the frustration and the sadness that comes up, but we can also play with it a little bit and have fun with these experiences, not bypassing them and saying, no, I'm just a positive person and I'm a this and I'm a that.
Mhm.
That's lowering these vibrations and actually creating them bigger than what they
Yes.
came here with beforehand. So it's like, I see you, sadness. What can we do with you today? Can we dance? Can we dance with the sadness? Of course. Can we sing out the sadness? Can we express it in a creative way? Can I write about the sadness? I'm really sad today, and this is what's happening, and blah blah blah. So it's always an element of, okay, amusement. How can I amuse myself? And thus I will amuse others.
I like it. That's awesome.
And it's easy.
So easy.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Seuss.
Right? He
There's
was
a walking in
genius.
my pocket. There's a walking in my pocket is honestly my favorite book of all time.
Yeah.
There's a Nink under the sink, a Zillow under the pillow. Like he is such a wordsmith.
He was. He was so good. Super cute.
Yeah. What's your favorite quote? Would you say?
Mine still is, and I've held this since like high school, is knowledge speaks and wisdom listens.
Ah,
Yes.
I
That
like
one
that.
is Bob Marley.
Oh, I love it. It was just
Yeah.
his 75th birthday. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's mine. Like I always try and think of that, and instead of just letting stuff fly out of my mouth, I kind of like take a minute and think. I try. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, but I try to always think about it first and to come up with the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you always have an experience of being able to have another opportunity to allow wisdom to just be silent.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is my show. We're out of time. So I will talk to you again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being on my show.
Mm-hmm. This was wonderful.